Hello, dear ones, beloveds. Beautiful day here in Cornwall. The sun's shining and it's wonderfully warm, and I trust you're enjoying something similar wherever you are. I'm drawn to make this video because, I have awareness about what I'm going through and what people close to me are going through and what clients are going through. And, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that we're going through tough times. And certainly if you look in the collective, that would be, it's really evident, isn't it? But what I want to draw us to today is to our individuality, because there is an interface between our individuality and the collective that's becoming much more evident, certainly in my world, and certainly in terms of empowering ourselves through this process that we're in of reset and really, really deep change. And there are lots of astrological pointers that I could gift you, and there will be more coming up in my blogs that are coming up over the summer. And there are some changes coming with my work, and I also want to share with you about my retreat coming up in Avebury at the end of June. But really what the focus is of this video is about that process of what I'm seeing as mature, authentic individuality. Now, what does that mean? Yeah, what does that actually mean? So as I was sitting down to reflect on this video, I remembered an experience, an awakening that I had many, many years ago at the Earth Spirit Centre in Glastonbury. And that was an experience of appearing, then disappearing, appearing, then disappearing, appearing, then disappearing. It was like this pulse of light where I fell completely into energy. I suppose that's the only way to describe it. Definitely, certainly into my beingness, and then appeared as a human being, then disappeared, then appeared, then disappeared, then appeared. And the energies of this time that we're in are very much about that, because astrologically it relates to the flow between Pisces and Aries. Pisces being the last sign of the zodiac, Aries being the first sign of the zodiac. And Pisces is where we disappear. It's the end of the cycle. It's the end of everything that has been so far. And Aries is the new beginning. And there is the focus between these two signs, has been over the last 6 months or so, particularly with the energy of Pisces being incredibly strong. And Pisces is where we must surrender. Often that's the only path, yeah, in terms of not knowing what it is that's coming, not knowing what it is that's birthing, connecting to that deep faith and trust in our beingness, in our soul energies, in spirit, in our path that is informing us from that deeper, higher, brighter, lighter place. Yeah, hope is part of the Pisces energy, but Pisces is also where we can fall into disillusion, disengagement, victim consciousness, apathy, kind of feeling I just want to go to sleep. And sleep can be very healing too through the Pisces energy. And then Aries is where it all gathers. It's like everything's ebbing like the tide. And Aries is where it all gathers, but it gathers just at a point, like that awakening that I was describing. It's literally the pulse of the new. So we're being called to engage and act on that from our mature individuality. And in that, we have to let go of any kind of powerlessness, but also let go of the how. Because Aries doesn't know how. It's the new beginning. It's childlike. It's innocent. It simply moves. It simply engages. It simply acts. And then, like that pulse of appearing, disappearing, There's a rest back into the energy of Pisces, that energy of faith and trust and beingness and flow and enjoyment until the next pulse arrives. Yeah. Now, you can see already, probably from what I'm describing, how we can get caught up in either of those energies. We can get caught up in the Pisces energy of just allowing things to flow, just relaxing, but maybe sitting back too much, yeah, and not engaging. Or we can get too engaged, too fully committed in the Aries energy, and we can use force to try and make things happen, particularly where we have a specific or a particular vision that's coming from our soul. Whereas the pure Aries energy is act, then let go. So it's a bit like not pushing the boat out. You know, there's that phrase, isn't there? Pushing the boat out. It's not pushing the boat out, it's just simply launching it. And then allowing life to meet that, allowing life to reveal to you the next step as you flow back into receptivity. Yeah. So we're talking very much about feminine, masculine, because Pisces is the receptivity of opening, allowing, receiving that next impulse that wants to act masculine and be direct. Yeah, and we can look at this in so many different ways in terms of relationships also. Now, this Pisces Aries flow, this receiving, acting flow, this emptying out, this, there's a word, inception, yeah, is flowing until next February. Yeah, we've been in it a while. And the two planets that are moving from Pisces to Aries, Neptune has already moved, Saturn moves on the 24th of this month, are guiding this flow. And it's interesting that both planets are connected to soulfulness and embodiment. Yeah. So it really is about letting go, allowing our soul to guide, and then being mature and authentic, Saturn, being response able in our acting on what our soul is gifting us. Now, of course, that requires listening. So again, we come back to Pisces. But then if we have fear, or if we have victim consciousness in our beingness, in our history, in our karma, and we are facing lots of not only personal, but family, ancestral, collective karma at this time about where do I act from? Yeah. Where do I come from? There's that phrase again, where am I coming from? Yeah. Where are you coming from? Are you coming from that can be subtle impulse of your soul, or from the ego, Aries, not that ego's wrong, that is trying to make something happen to get some identity? Rather than identity, Aries is pure identity, pure beingness that derives from spirit and soul. Yeah, so I'm hoping you can see the difference between the two. So underpinning this is also Pluto in Aquarius. So there is a rare outer planet alignment that also guides us to the understanding that how I am as an individual, how I act as an individual, how mature I am as an individual is informing. Think about that word, informing. You know, you kind of have the mental take on that, but also informing, yeah, embodying what the collective, that reset, that new collective impulse that is endeavoring to come in. I had a bit of a conversation in a group yesterday afternoon where somebody asked the question, it was just a social group, we were talking about the collective and anger and so on. And one woman kind of posed the question about how is anger healed? We were talking about soap operas, that actually, you know, and what they demonstrate, and whether that's a good thing or not. And I said, well, it's down to each one of us. And then someone else said, but yeah, we have to want to. And that was a really powerful statement for me, because I recognized how many people don't want to. And I know that sounds like a judgment, but it was just purely the truth of recognizing that until we're maybe pushed through pain, yeah, and this is something that I've had questions or curiosity about ever since my awakening in the late 80s. It's like, what is that timing? You know, what made me turn my consciousness from looking out there from a sense of self to looking in here in my heart? And how that timing is different for every individual, and how that timing is also with the collective. There is a divine timing within that. Yeah, so I've kind of gone off track a bit, but that's what happens when you're talking about universal energies. So yeah, there is this powerful impulse at the moment that is about how your maturity, my authenticity as an individual, through all the dark shadows that are coming up, is really feeding and informing the collective. And when, as an individual, we really get that, it's truly empowering. Whereas if you feed yourself with the news and everything you think's going on out there, which is very slanted anyway, it's very disempowering. It's good to know what's happening, you know, but also good to recognize, you know, just touch base with it. Don't give it too much fuel in your consciousness. That's just my advice. So between now and next February, we're in this flow between Pisces, Aries, letting go, surrender. Many of us have situations in our lives, myself included, where I could feel powerless, yeah, with some of the things that are happening in my life, because it's very complex. But what I'm learning is to engage what I need to engage in the moment, without necessarily understanding the full complexity of the bigger picture or where it's going. And that's very much that Pisces Aries energy of, this is what life is giving me that I'm needing to surrender to and act on. Yeah, that's what's really important, particularly as Saturn comes into Aries on the 24th. So you may get this after that's happened, because I'm recording it on the 22nd. So surrendering to the complexity of life and engaging it in the moment, that pulse, disappearing, appearing, disappearing, appearing. So I'm just looking at my notes. Yeah, as well as that, and there will be more in blogs, Uranus is going into Gemini in July. I think it's early July. And that flow will be between Taurus and Gemini until April next year. So we're in this transition phase, because Uranus in Taurus is very different to Uranus in Gemini. So Uranus in Taurus is about the embodiment process and finding stability in a process of rapid change, which we've been doing while Uranus has been in Taurus, which I think is 7 years, maybe a bit less, can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, for a while, 7-8 years, I believe. And when it moves into Gemini, the light information that will be streaming in will be much more accessible, and we'll also see lots of things happening with technology, and our responses to AI and technology will need to be really grounded and engaged with from an embodiment perspective, because it could get all too much. Yeah. And then Jupiter is moving into the sign of Cancer in early June. So we've got lots of the social planets and the outer planets moving signs, along with Pluto is now fully in Aquarius. So Jupiter in Cancer is very much about, it's very personal, it's very much about how do I feel, because obviously Cancer ruled by the moon. How do I nurture myself? Where do I feel that real deep sense of belonging and caretaking? And how do I parent myself in a good way? As I've said, more coming in blogs. Underpinning all of this in the dark energies, and dark not as judgment, but dark as contrast to light, is Lilith in Scorpio. And Lilith in Scorpio is showing us where we deny the authenticity, where we're afraid of that deep Scorpio energy, where everything that's taboo in our culture, everything that's hidden, all our agendas, our motivations, the poisons of life. Lilith is this bright, dark light that is highlighting all that. And so, you know, to kind of sum it up, is getting us to look at what's most honest, what's most truthful. And it's a personal energy that informs the Piscean feeling energy as well. So it kind of guarantees our authenticity in terms of recognizing the power of embracing our shadows. Now, that's all I want to say at the moment about the energies, and I hope that's been supportive and useful to you, and more coming in my blogs, more specific kind of timings and pointers in my blogs. However, I just also wanted to share that through this process of surrender and engagement, what has been happening for me is that I need to step back in some ways from what I'm sharing. And for me, that's been really challenging because I love what I share. Yeah. And giving up or surrendering what you love is perhaps more difficult than surrendering the things that you are aware of that you don't love. Yeah, that you don't have any kind of agenda with. And my agenda is, I love this. I want to share. I want to be generous with this. But what I'm realizing, or what I've been realizing over the last 6 months since being sick when I came back from Delphi, is that the cost to myself and my own self-nurture was becoming too high in sharing so generously and so freely. So I've had to tap into, on a deeper level, my Capricorn nature and put some boundaries there, and clearer boundaries, and commit to those boundaries, you know, and engage those boundaries. That's been the Aries energy of recognizing there needs to be more balance in terms of taking care of myself. Yeah, I need to act on that more. So what I'm seeing at the moment, and this may well change, is I've already taken a step back from Facebook and my Whole Woman page. I don't engage it much personally anyway. And even though I love writing those posts and sharing them and finding the images to go with them, it's a huge time commitment in the week. So that's gone. And that may continue to just kind of sit there. I don't know whether I will pick that up again in the winter. I may do. That's an unknown. So that's like the Pisces. We can't always know. Right now, the Aries is saying, summertime, take some time out. So I have client bookings till the end of June. And then I'm taking 2 months off, July and August, and we'll pick up the client bookings again in the autumn. And I will also take a month off at least over the solstice, winter solstice period, and we'll do some traveling then. So that's what's happening with work. In the meantime, I will continue to write a blog monthly at the new moon because I love to share that, and that's my commitment to kind of flow with what my soul is saying. Usually I'm a burn it all kind of person. I'm like, that's done, finish, and it all goes. And now I'm learning to be more subtle with this. It's like the Pisces is saying, yes, This is still part of what my sharing and my offering and my sense of self is. And yet the Aries is saying be clearer about this. Include yourself in the picture, because Aries is our ego, is our self, is our individuality. So there's that. Yeah, so I just wanted to paint the picture for that for you in this video. And then also I've got coming up, so my weekend retreats, my retreats have already changed from the long retreats overseas to weekends here in the UK. And that's how it looks over this next 6 months or so. Who knows how it will look next year. So there's a weekend coming up at the end of June, 28th, 29th of June, in Avebury at the beautiful Sacred Stone Circle there in Avebury, which is a powerful moon site. It's a feminine site as opposed to the Stonehenge more masculine energy. And it's a place that I've been visiting for years because my first days in community in the late, when was that? Mid to late 90s. It's like, whoa, it's all gone. We lived near Avebury, so would visit particularly around the moons and share rituals there and do all kinds of weird and wacky stuff there then. So it's been a place that has been really potent in my own awakening and holds a very powerful energy for the feminine, for the moon cycle in the UK, and there are ley lines that run through there as well, which more about that on the retreat. So the weekend is non-residential. You can attend just for the Saturday or for the Saturday and the Sunday, and you would need obviously to have accommodation somewhere near there for that weekend. The Saturday, we're starting in the afternoon at 2 and we're going through to the evening. I think we'll finish about 8:30. And then Sunday is more daytime, 10 till 4-ish. And the title of the, or the focus of the weekend retreat is In Bloom. And it's our abundant feminine. And really the astrology, the Pisces Aries flow, is really informing that, because we're going to be exploring what is fullness and what is fullness in your experience as an individual, and the contrast between busyness and the busyness of self-expression and the fullness that comes from resting in our heart, which is more the Pisces energy, and that flow of allowing and receiving our beingness that really nourishes and embodies and informs our beingness, that can then engage in new ways in the Aries energy. So we'll be looking at that flow of receiving and giving, the contrast between busyness and fullness. We'll be looking at a deep appreciation for life and gratefulness, gratitude, in terms of when that is a value in us, to have gratitude, to be grateful for what is in our lives, in our perspective, that allows us to flow in greater trust and empowerment and embodiment in our individuality, that then informs the collective on what is good, what is wholesome, what is healthy, what makes us feel full, because there are initiatives that are based in that, so many, but we don't see them in the mass media, do we? So that retreat is 28th, 29th of June. We'll be in the Avebury Social Centre, so we're right in the centre of the stone circle, but we'll be on the land a lot as well. And a beautiful gathering of sisters for that event. So if you're inspired to come for the day or the weekend, let me know or book in. The early bird booking day is coming up. I think it's the 28th of May, which is next week, towards the end of next week, after the new moon in Cancer. So yeah, do get in touch, and you can pay by installments if you need to. And I would love to see you and share this with you. The bookings are coming in, so we'll be filling up. The retreat that I'm sharing in early November, which is very different, called Wise and Wild, is looking at our Queen and Crone energies, and that's booking up fast. So it's more than half full already. So if that's something that inspires you, that's in North Cornwall. Have a look at that as well, or email me for the information. So thank you very much for your time, for listening, for being with me in this space. And I look forward to sharing more with you as we flow in these wonderful energies. Blessings.